Why do I like pansies so much? Look at that color. The color is absolutely gorgeous. And you will get pansies blooming in the spring, and you will get them in the fall. You can get them in orange and purple and blue and white and yellow. And probably some more colors that I'm missing, like maroon. I don't think I've seen pink pansies before, but you may be able to get some seeds from Etsy for people that actually raise pink pansies. But I love, love, love the color in the spring. Because right now I'm only getting crocuses blooming, which is gorgeous too. But they're so small that you have to kind of seek them out. But pansies kind of shout out that, hey, I'm here. They thrive in the cold. I mean, the snow that's up in here, it's not going to hurt them at all. And they will reseed themselves if you cut them back. They'll get a little leggy when it gets warm, and they'll look like they're dying because they're just trying to make seeds. But if you cut them back and get rid of that leggy growth, and then take the seed heads and sprinkle them in the soil, they'll grow more. So you don't have to keep replanting every year, which I really like. That's always a bonus to me. They're in an 6-pack. Weekends has lots of them of all different colors. So go get them while you can. These kinds of flowers do the Tataki Zome really well, where you hammer the petals into paper, and you can also hammer the petals into fabric that's pre-treated, and they make beautiful, beautiful designs. You actually can get all of the purple, all of the yellow, all of the different veinage when you use these for your Tataki Zome. So the price here says $8, but you actually get, there's probably at least a couple plants in each pocket, in each little cell, but they also do really, really, really well just fanning out. So you don't need a whole lot of these to make a big impression. If you stick with me to the end, you'll see something I always do with all flowering plants when I first plant them. And it's the hardest thing that a gardener can do, but it's one of the most important. I am putting this in an old container. This is old potting soil. And whenever you do containers with old potting soil, you're going to want to replace the soil, at least part of it. So for today's purposes, I'm going to replace just a little bit of the top for the pansies. You guys can hang out over here just to look pretty. You just look pretty. Just smile. Look pretty. And with that, I'm just going to take a little wash tin and start scooping some of this out. And I do have rocks in here. I forgot about that. I'll put those in the back. I'm just scooping out maybe the first couple inches of soil until my wash pan thing is full. Oh, there's a tulip. Again, this soil is already used. So what happens with the soils that you get that have fertilizer in them is that fertilizer is good for at least the growing season, so usually about 3 months. And then fertilizer beads, they run out of fertilizer. That's why you have to refresh your container bed each year. And what they do in the nurseries to keep the bloom so beautiful is they give them liquid fertilizer in their watering systems. I don't know what that is. Is that over there? And that keeps the plants surviving. But then they're also dependent, kind of like a hospital patient would be, they're kind of dependent on those nutrients from the liquid fertilizer. So if you want your container plants to look just as nice as the nursery plants when you first get them, you know, I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you bring them home and then just, I don't know, a week later, 2 weeks later, they just don't look as well as they did when they first got them. That's because you need to use the liquid fertilizers, just like they do in the nurseries, to keep them going. All right, I think that is about 2 inches. One more. 1 or 2 more scoops out. You can see some roots coming out too. This container's also had some cat mint. All right. Okay, I'm gonna work with that. So the level's gone down, yeah, about 2 inches. I don't see anything hard that's gonna, in this area, that's going to affect them, and that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put some new soil in. You could just put the plants, because these are so not sensitive to the cold, you could take them out of the cells and just set them on here, but I just want to make sure that there's some good soil down there too. Now, this soil I'm using here, this is the Stay Green potting soil plus fertilizer, and it says it feeds up to 9 months, and it has been dry in my garage. As long as it's dry, the fertilizer is still okay. If I left this out in the weather and it got wet, the fertilizer would have leached out of the bag. But it's been dry. So I'm trying to work with just my one hand mostly, since the other hand is healing. And I get a big kick out of planting in the spring. It really helps with those March humdrums, you know. I'm also always going to want to use a glove. Whenever I'm going to work with anything that's got fertilizer in it, or anything in general anymore, I'm going to use a glove. I didn't used to like gloves. I used to say, oh, I want to work in the bare soil. But you know what? Sometimes you pour this stuff out and there is glass, or there's something with pokers, or sometimes you go to do your compost. Maybe a cat has gotten in there, and maybe there's cat poop in there. You don't want to touch that. That's gross. Ew. I don't want to touch it. Maybe you do, but I don't. All right, I think that's a pretty good level. Now it's almost level with a container. I'm sure you guys can see. I'm not going to go sideways, but there's about about that deep. So like this would be like the edge of the pot, the top of the pot, and then I still have this much room. That way water can collect on it, and I have room for plants as well. All right, now, oh, that's going to be so fun. But I want to do something to help their roots grow before I put them in any holes. I want to give them feet. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I don't necessarily need the tag. It's good to look at tags because you know what you're getting, what variety you're getting. You can look it up with the Latin name if they have it on there. Many tags have care instructions as well. So first I squish this real good. Make sure it's not connected to the one next to it. Because a lot of times they'll just dump the soil all up on the cells, and then they'll toss the seeds in, and the roots will connect them. So I want to make sure he's not friends anymore, not connected with his friend next to him. So he's nice and clear. I'm going to pull him out. Pull him out, push him out gently. Again, it's really hard to mess up pansies. But when you see what was down in the root, in the cells, you're going to want to take care of it. Look at that. All of that white is roots. The roots have been growing for so long, they've wrapped around the edges of the cell. And I want them to have more roots. So here's what I'm going to do to give them feet. There's 2 different ways you can do it. One is you can get a small pair of scissors and score them, and you're not hurting them by cutting them like this. Like this. Another way is, if you don't have your scissors with you, just pulling them apart. And look at, there's not roots on the inside. They were all on the outside of the cell. So now they have feet. what I call feet. And it's super simple to loosen the soil, put them in, make sure there's soil inside the feet as well. Bam. That's planted. Firm it in so there's no air. And that's planted. Okay? So I'm going to do that with all of these. I have different colors. And I was going to try to make sure that I got different colors in there. Again, I'm going to free them from their friends so they're not holding hands anymore. Like that. It's easier for them to come out undamaged when they're not holding each other's hands. I'm going to press, press, press. Press upward. Pop it out. Bam. Now I'm going to look for color placement. So I want some purple up here. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. There we go. The roots did not grow out of the container much. There's a little bit of root growth coming out on some of them, but they're not going to get damaged by losing those roots on the outsides. Ooh, ow, ow, ow. All right, let's put some yellow here. Yellow pot. This one too. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Out it comes. Put the purple here. It's pretty. Bright colors will come at you. You can see them from farther away. And cool colors like the purple it kind of draws you in a little bit, but you do want some competing contrasting colors whenever you do a container. Just makes it a little bit more interesting for the viewer, which is you, usually. And again, it's so cool. The sun is not out. It is shady. Actually, I like the blues. I want to see the blues now. I'm going to put my blues, this blue spot over here where I'll see it more often. That blue can come over here. And then, put this last one out. Wiggle, 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 gently. There were some roots that were longer that were poking through the cell. But otherwise, they're okay. I'm going to put them here. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to give them feet. I think I'm going to use my scissors. Usually, I can just pull them apart with my thumbs. But since this hand is still healing, I'll just use my scissors. Simple enough. No excuses, Tam. No excuses. And I'm going to tell you, in the ground is always better than in the cells, in the pots. And there's my feet. Make a little bit deeper hole than I had before. Make sure there's soil inside of it. Yep. Push it around it. There we go. There we go. Same things. In the ground, or these big pots, is always better than in the cells. I can actually, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do 4 feet for this one. I probably should have done 4 feet for the other one. That's okay. Still going to help it. It's not perfect, but it's going to be very similar to those 6-packs that you see when you get smaller packs. And again, there's roots on the outsides, but not on the insides. And we want to encourage some root growth to go on the inside too. Should we fill in between, underneath, all around, go. Here. Push it down gently. Push it down gently. I'm just trying to get rid of the air. Okay. Got my feet. Spread them open. Now, I've not found that anything eats these. Cats could dig inside of the containers because it's fresh soil. Squirrels could come and try and bury something in there because it's fresh soil. And that's the whole goal, is to keep the things from smelling the fresh soil. So when I'm done, I probably, like I do with my bulbs, I'll probably come out and grate some Irish Spring soap over the top of the soil to disguise the scent of freshly dug soil. My dog, when she comes out, if she were to walk by here, she would probably want to dig in it because it's fresh soil. So I want to prevent that from happening. So probably use some Irish Spring and shred it over the top of the soil. Chickens would definitely, if you did this and there's chickens around, they would definitely want to dig in the soil because it's nice and loose. I'll show you another trick I do to prevent the cat from digging in here. Because we did have cat mints in here, and it goes pretty well. Oh, it's lonesome. Okay, I got all 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 5, 6 cells of pansies in here. There we go. And I'm going to look and see where the water might run, and make sure that it's going to get to all of the pansies. So I may have to move some soil around. Sometimes I make a magic circle around the plants, I call it. That's what I tell the kids it was called, magic circle. And that will capture moisture. I'm also going to kind of take a look and see if it's... I'm going to look down here and see if there's spots that are lower than others. I'm feeling like it's lower on this side. Probably. And I have a little bit more soil to put in there. Just to raise that up. Just like if this was a giant piece of land and you have a slope that collects water, you want to do that with your containers too. You want to make sure that any soil, any water is going to get captured and not run away and run off. That's one reason why I have a lip. I didn't fill the soil all the way to the top, because I want the water not to run off. I want it to stay in one spot so it can go to the plants. And right now these are very ugly because they're dirty, and then you can mangled a little bit. I put them in. A little bit more on this side here. I also can test the water flow by running the water like from a watering can and see which direction it goes and doesn't go. Let's go high on this side. And if you've got containers at the side of by your house, the slope, generally from your house, is it starts higher near the house, and it kind of slopes away from the house. Most houses slope, goes away from the house, so the water runs away from it. And that's kind of a general rule of thumb you can use to make sure that your soil is level. You can actually put a level as well, and that would help you decide which way the water is going. And why am I being fussy about this? Because I don't want to have to water them. When I put them in and I do that initial watering, I want them to take care of themselves. And they would. They would. So, one trick I can use to keep cats from digging in here is the rocks. I had pulled them out. I'm just going to plop a rock just around, and just around. When I have more rocks, large rocks, I can put them in, and it will be harder for whatever to start just digging in the soil uninterrupted. They're going to run into rocks, and they're not going to like it so much. That's one thing you can do to prevent them from digging. Now, this coming up is going to be the hard part that nobody likes. One thing I'll do is take a quick picture so I know what colors were there. And then I do the thing that nobody likes to do. But when you plant flowers, if you plant flowers, you're going to want blooms. You don't want seeds. The plants make the colors so that they will attract the pollinators that would come, so that they will get fertilized and make seeds. And when you don't want seeds right now, you have to get rid of the full blooms. And it's really hard. It's really hard. It's a hard thing to do. Nobody likes it. But it's so, so, so important if you're going to want continuous blooms. Now, if you can see right here, that is a bud. I could leave that. It's not a full bloom yet. But this is a full bloom and it's got to go. That's a full bloom. It's got to go. So if I see buds, I'll leave them. This one looks like a bud. Right here. I can leave it. And I'm going to take the full blooms. That's a full bloom. I'm going to take the full blooms back all the way down to the bottom of the stem to the leaves without hurting the leaves. And that's going to be really important. And then what I do is leave them. That reminds me what colors I put in. So I'm going to go all the way back down. Boop, and just leave it. So I still can see the colors. It's providing a little bit of mulch for the flowers, but I'm not going to get seeds forming. I'm going to take this one all the way back down. I also have a chance to look for bugs. This one looks like it might have a little bug on it. And I will leave that bug on it to enjoy that little bloom that I'm not using anymore. I also, like I said, I also could reuse these blooms in Tataki's Zome, which is the hammering of the flowers on paper or on prepared fabric. So not all is lost. Now, come all the way down here and clip it. And some of these blooms, the stems have already fallen over just from handling them, and that's okay. Because I'm going to come down here and clip it. All the way to the bottom. Clip it. Look how pretty. Look how pretty those are. Whoops, where'd it go? That's so pretty. And if I want to keep this bloom forever, then I'll hammer it on paper. But for now, because it's so cold, and I'm just showing you how to do this, this is what I'm doing. Okay, here. I'll zoom out a little bit, kind of get the gist of it. And this is the hardest thing to ever do, but the sooner you learn it, the more blooms you're going to get and the more happy you'll be with your flowers. This one is really long stemmed and it got bent. That means the water can't go up and the other nutrients can't come back down into the soil. So taking it off is going to be better for the plant anyways. Not good for your psyche, but better for the plants. That hard part is done. But I still can see what colors I have, so I know. Like if I wanted to start adding a lissom or something else, I could do that because I know what colors I have. I am going to water them in now. And this is, this container is facing south. So there's the south sun that comes up. And over here it becomes, once it comes around about 2-3 o'clock, gets a little bit more shady. And when the temperatures start warming up and the sun is starting to beat down, I'm going to slide this whole container back more into the shade because they're going to last longer with cooler temperatures and less sunshine. When it gets warm, they do just like any other cold crop does, and they bolt and they say, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I need to make seeds. But right now, while it's cool and it's not been sunny because it's still March, this is a fine place to have them right here. And I will water them today and then every couple days. A lot of the rain will come down and the snow will come down, and they're going to benefit from that more than they will from my house water. When I start seeing new leaves coming up and growing, then I'm going to cut back on the watering, because that means to me, when they start seeing new leaves, that means that new roots are forming, because you can't get leaves without the roots growing first. So the roots, and then the leaves start coming out. When the leaves come out, the plant gets more energy. That's the other part. The plant's going to get more energy from the leaves, and then they're going to start sending out their flower shoots. And then every couple days, I'm going to come through here too. And if I see something that's like opening really fast, like probably this one's going to open really fast, and this one, I might take those out and use them for my art. And cut them down to the leaves and use them for my art. And then the plant is going to use more and more leaves and more flowers. So this is going to be the key, which is, again, one of the hardest parts. But when you first transplant flowers, you don't want flowers. You want roots, because more roots will mean more leaves, which will mean more flowers overall. And then by the end of the season, you'll have tons of flowers. So it's a lot like deadheading your annuals, where you keep taking off the spent blooms. But in this case, it's when you first put them in the containers that's going to matter the most. So if you enjoyed this and you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more of this, let me know. If you never want to see this kind of stuff again, let me know that too. But you can put your questions in the comments. Maybe my method is different than what you do. Maybe it's exactly the same, but let me know in the comments what you think. And that's about all I got now. It's kind of cold, but I'm going to get them watered in and move on to the next project. Oh, you also can visit my website for free garden resources. That is thelazynortherngardener.com. And happy spring. Go do something fun and colorful.